It's worked.
Yay, we're live. We're live.
Always takes us a couple of minutes.
Got anybody watching?
That's the musical bit I mentioned earlier.
I can't help it.
Right, guys, we'll wait for everybody to join us. Probably all three of you.
As if we have lots of viewers usually.
And then, like I say, get your questions in. We've got a couple of topics we're going to cover that were requested last Sunday, and throughout the week we've had a couple of questions come in as well. So we'll cover a few things.
Bear with.
We've just got to get the news feedy bit up so we can see what's going on.
Is it that bit?
So yeah, what's everybody's week been like? According to Facebook stats, nobody watches our videos past 3 seconds. So thanks to everybody that watched for the first 3 seconds. Those that are still with us, hi.
Yeah.
Let's carry on.
Just ignore me. Talk amongst yourself.
I'm just waiting for a couple of
got a
people
few.
to drop in. Oh yeah, it's jumped up to 3. There's our 3 viewers. That's what I was.
You're so horrendous.
Yeah.
Behind.
So yeah, so if you're joining us for the first time, it's Liz.
Hi, Liz.
Liz has stayed up to join us. Liz, I've got some good news.
Hiya, Anna.
Next week,
Oh, thanks. Shut up. Shh. Anna says I look pretty. Thanks.
next week we'll start at 8. So we're going to start earlier.
Yeah.
Because there's a few of you, including us, that sort of said, 9 o'clock's quite late.
Yeah.
So,
We've had a few people that have sent us messages and said we absolutely want to watch, but 9 o'clock's a bit late on a Sunday.
yeah.
Which
So like I said,
we agree.
If you're joining us for the first time, my name's Alistair. I'm a mediumistic life coach. And this is my goddess, Penny.
All right, you earned some points there. So I'm Penny. I'm an empath, a doula, a Reiki master, advanced master herbalist as well. I don't say
Again,
that very often.
I said this last week, we're not going through a full CV.
If you've got time, I'll go through the whole list.
So, what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover, firstly, the time of year it is and the season, and what it means to us. And then we're going to look at a request that came in from last week for deities, which is quite a big topic to try and cover. It's too big.
It is too big. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to talk about deities, because we did say we'll talk about whatever it is that you ask. And yes, Leah, you're right. The light is brilliant. It makes me look pretty, apparently.
Thanks to all my supporters, by the way. Cheers.
Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the season and the deities that are linked to the season, and then a little bit about the deities that are linked to us, and then whatever else comes to mind. We started having a little brief chat earlier today, this morning I think, about deities and how they link to us, and it ended up in quite a lengthy conversation that was extremely deep.
It tends to with me.
So, we're going to be more inclusive, and you lot can join in as well. Hi, Marianne. Hi. Okay, so, shall I start, or do you want to start? Or
No, tell us what time of year it is.
this time of year for us is Ostara, which is actually this weekend. Depending what part of the country or what part of paganism that you are linked with, it either started today and tomorrow, or it started yesterday and it goes for 3 days. So everybody's different. So for me, it started today.
Why did it start today for you?
Because I'm needy and I wanted it to be today. I couldn't be bothered yesterday. Not really at all. That's a big lie. Okay, so Ostara is actually Celtic, and it is linked to Estra or Ostra, which is West Germanic.
Well done.
And it is where Easter actually comes from.
At
I
no
know
point,
this is going to be
yeah,
contentious.
at no
this
point during this
conversation.
evening are we out to,
Demonise other religions.
yeah, that's not the case. This is just a case of describing how things are from our perspective
Yes.
as the pagans that we are.
Indeedy, indeedy. So for us, it
Tammy's
is.
watching.
It
My
is part.
big sister's watching. Now I'm
Hi,
nervous.
Tammy. I'll be really well behaved and be nice to him. Punish him later.
Right,
Alright.
sorry, carry on.
Okay, so right, Ostara or Ostara for us. It is the beginning of spring equinox. So there is balance brought back in. There is a balance between day and night. And a move towards new growth, new life. So that's what Ostara is to us. And it is linked to the hair. It is linked to eggs.
Not the hair on your head.
No, as in a wild hair, a rabbit with long ears, and a bit thinner. It is linked to eggs because they symbolise new life as well. It is linked to spring flowers, and what I found out is, again, this could be contentious for some people. Whatever you believe, you are entitled to believe, and I will not attempt to change your mind. I will only tell you my perspective. So my perspective, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this?
Yeah, you can see it.
The hot cross bun. The hot cross bun, commonly thought to be linked to Easter, which is a Christian celebration. However, Ostara
We said
was...
hot cross bun and a love heart went up the screen.
somebody's hungry. Understandable completely.
Sorry, carry on.
So, yeah, you're really off-putting for my train of thought. So, yeah, Ostara was before Christianity. And the hot cross bun, or there was Ostara cakes, had the cross on them for something completely different. So people tend to think that this is Jesus's cross. It isn't, is it? Because it's a perfect square. It's a Celtic cross, is what it is. Therefore linked to Ostara. It's also linked to the 4 seasons. Look at that, equal balance. It's linked to north, south, I don't know which way around because the phone mirrors, east and west. It is linked to earth, air, fire and water. So it was about before Christianity.
It also means I can eat a lot of them and go, no, they're pagan buns.
Indeed. And actually, they're very similar looking to soul cakes. I don't know if anybody's had a nose through my Facebook, please feel free. That during Samhain, or Halloween, I make soul cakes, which are circular, and they have a cross, the same. Just saying. Okay, so colours for Ostara generally are bright green, yellow and purple. There is quite a lengthy story around the purple and how it symbolises blood spilled, but that is quite an in-depth pagan history story, so I'm not going to go into that because that's a bit much for a little talk. So I would just also interesting, Ostara is a symbol of Ostara is a dragon or a serpent as well, depending which pagan route you take. So I may well be mother of dragons. So, some of the other spring equinox celebrations are Seiziya or Ashanti, which is Ghanan, and the deity Ashanti is based around fertility and planting of new crops early, and she is honoured in the fields, and it is believed that her husband is the god of the sky who provides the rain that helps the crops grow, so they work together in balance. And then there is Cybele, which is Roman. She is considered to be the mother goddess and a protector of women. So they are all linked to the spring equinox. For me, my goddess, and I linked with my goddess about, I said earlier, about 16, 17 years ago. And my goddess was Freya, and I knew a little about Freya, but I didn't know lots and lots. So I did some research, and I'm very interested that I was drawn towards her. It kind of makes sense. So Freya is very similar to Frigg, who is Norse, which Alistair will get onto in a minute. She is the sister to Freyr. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Frigg, Frey.
And there's many different versions of her name as well. So if anybody heard the UK Haunted talk, Ghost Box talk on Wednesday about dreams, was it Wednesday? No, it was the Wednesday before. It was a couple of weeks ago about dreams. And I said that I have a recurring dream that I've had since I was a child, that I am living in the Highlands way in the past, in the Scottish Highlands, and it's just day-to-day mundane things that I'm doing, and then I can randomly turn into an eagle and fly all around and just look down on where I'm living, which is a bit weird.
Down on everybody.
But I never really gave much thought to why I dreamed that. I wondered if it was a past life thing more than anything, but I've never really looked into it. Anyway, so I've done some research on Freya, my goddess, and Freya is believed to have owned a magical cloak of hawk feathers, which enabled her to turn into a hawk at will when she wanted and just fly around, which I thought was really interesting. And then I found out that actually Freya is not only linked to abundance and fertility and passion, and some stories link her to war, and there is a question whether she is the head of the Valkyries. She has a chariot pulled by cats. Weird. But she is also linked to assistance with conception and childbirth, which really surprised me, particularly because of my foray into doulaing that I'm doing now. So I too assist in childbirth, and I thought that that was really interesting, that I was drawn to her for no obvious reason all those years ago, and I bless my altar to her and I give thanks and praise to her, and she's the one that I ask protection from. And I never looked particularly deeply because it felt an instinctual link. So
if you hadn't worked it out, we dropped into the deities. You didn't even spot the link. How fluid was that?
Cheeky. Anyway, so last thing is that Freya has a necklace which is, it represents the fire of the sun, which is perfect for this time of year, that the weather's supposed to be changing and being nice and springy and bringing life, new life in flowers and things. Brisingamen. That's the name of her necklace.
Excellent.
And that's that. That's my little link to what the time of the year is, and my little link to the goddesses and the deities that are part of my belief at this time of year, and a little bit of a nudge towards Christianity, because can I say the bit I said earlier about the appropriation of...
Yeah, of course you can.
So there are many festivities throughout the year, and situations that were appropriated, apparently, allegedly, by Christianity. Knowing that paganism was way before Christianity, many festivals were taken from pagan rituals that were already there. And the Romans were prolific at invading the world, and appropriating what was already there and adding it to their own gods and belief system, and creating a new system that they thought was more appropriate, that everybody needed to follow. Hence why there is a ridiculous number of Roman gods. And why there's so much confusion if you do research about deities, why it's so hard to do it, and why you're going to find 3 or 4 different names for one god.
I'm going to let you into some secrets in a minute.
Is because of that. It's because they went round and stole a god and took their god and mashed the stories together and gave them a new name. I'm not bitter, can you tell? Oh, shush now and let Alistair talk.
Yeah, I don't want it to focus too much on the religious aspect of it. The crucial part when it comes to sort of thinking of a deity is it's a god or a goddess that you're choosing to engage with, not a god that's central to things that you have to engage with, that covers all boxes for you.
Yeah.
And this is where deities come in, and this is why, like Penny said, the Romans had so many because, like we said earlier today, they had a god of war, a god of travel, a god of prosperity, a god of the crops, a god of the weather. So they appointed those sort of things that so they could add that aspect of worship. So whether the actual deity existed becomes kind of irrelevant at this point, okay? And this is the crucial bit for me on my journey for deities, which incidentally started with Christ. Christened as a child, I was then baptised as a born-again Christian when I was 21, which I chose to do.
I won't hold it against you.
On my journey of, I'd like to just point out there was a couple of Vikings that were also baptised, so it's not rub salt in this. Okay, it's good to see things from both sides of the fence, but I wasn't satisfied with it. I wasn't satisfied with the communication I had with said deity, said God. So I looked elsewhere, and what they kept giving me as a book of answers just drew more questions. So for me, the journey then took a bit of a turn looking for deities, because a lot of stuff, which I've said before, within the spiritual world is extremely feminine. It's very feminine looking, it's pinks, it's soft, everything. And I don't mean that in a negative. It becomes a bit where anything masculine looks like you want to worship Satan and you just listen to death metal all day. So there was no happy medium. So my deity journey led me to a god called Herne, or Herne the Hunter. It depends now at this point with the credibility of it being a person or a beast within the forest, but the representation of that deity is masculine, but it's also balanced with nature. So he represents the hunting of the forest, but he also represents making sure that forest flourishes. So it's not always about the masculine kind of killing and the hunter-gatherer side of things. It's also about him making sure that new deer are coming in, his family are protected, and it is very much like a balance between nature and being a human being, and trying to find that bit in there. My other deity that I connect with is Frigg, or Freya. To me, it is the same person to me. Yeah. Within the Norse mythology, Frigg was Odin's wife, or one of Odin's wives.
The main wife.
Well, some of the others might have argued that. We've got no account for what went on.
And
we know what things are like when it comes to ex-wives and things, so we don't know what Frigg would have said.
All right, bitter.
So you've got then Frigg, Freya, and another one, Frey, or something similar to that. So, but essentially they could all be the same person. But to me, Goddess Frigg represents my mum. She's there to protect and guide and tell me some shit I need to hear that I'm only really going to take any notice of from a respected female that I respect. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be good information coming to me from a masculine sort of thing, because I'll just battle against it. Yeah. I understand what I'm like. So for me, that kind of guidance comes from a female, like that goddess side of things, to give me that emotional connection to a deity. And then I got Herne Hunter for all the masculine kind of, I can be strong when I need to be and judge a situation as to whether I need to back away from it, leave it for a bit. That's where Herne comes in for me. He's my judge within my head, kind of going, okay, don't ask what's happened, why has it happened? So there's a number of different questions that come in. And that's the point to a deity. That's the point for somebody to look up to, because I have conversations, people might tune in more now because they seem mental or out, I'm not sure. But I'll have conversations with Thor, mainly on a Thursday, because that's his day. And I'll purposely wear the Minotaur hammer because it's his day. And then I'll have conversations with him about making sure my family are safe, because that's what he's about. But yeah, I like the thing you mentioned earlier about the cats.
Yeah.
Because technically Odin's chariot's pulled by an 8-legged horse, and Thor travels with goats. So there's lots of stuff in the mythology side of things. But the other thing that comes with deities as well is music and drums. So when you're picking sort of deities and trying to get that connection there, getting yourself into a rhythm with a drum or a piece of music, doesn't have to be a drum, you can be a modern connection with the deity and listen to trance or the latest pop music. It's whatever gets you into that state of mind to kind of zone into yourself to be able to connect to a deity, which is probably enough information for a whole other talk, to be fair.
I think so.
It could be, actually, because I had a conversation with somebody the other day about astral projection, and how they were trying to do it, and then I sort of said, well, try it this way, and they appear to have had some success with that. So that might be something we could talk about on here. The complexities of travelling within astral projection. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Let's focus on today.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The other thing when it comes to deities is treat them with some respect. Don't ask them stupid questions. Don't ask a deity or a god a question that within reason and ethical reasons and within law you can ascertain yourself. As a for instance, I don't know if I want to say that one actually. Do I want to be really up close and personal? Yeah, okay, right, I will be. At one point in my life, I wasn't able to have contact with my kids and see them. And that is when a massive connection with the deity comes in. Because at that point, I need somebody's help. I had no reasonable way of ascertaining that they were okay. So I used to use my tarot cards on a weekly basis and have a check-in with my deity, for them to check up on them and let me know if there was anything that I needed to do, or just to give me some sort of information, something, so I know that they were okay more than anything else. And on the whole, it was always generally positive, wait your ground, just you're going to be okay. And, you know, we won the clock forward and I am. It's cool. It's all sort of good and sorted. Mm-hmm. But it's having the respect for a deity to not ask them a stupid question. It's not like, oh, what's the lottery numbers? And I don't even mean a question sort of, oh, how will I get on at this job interview? They don't know what you're going to say in a job interview. So they've got a certain amount of control. They may have helped you get the interview. Now it's down to you having them open the door to walk through it and claim it as yours. So have that respect to ask the right questions. Instantly, when I was researching a bit of this to do with my shamanism stuff as well, seers within Norse mythology, sort of the shamans and the seers and things, were generally ladies, and they were generally midwives and doulas, which another how everything's kind of comes to a point when you're researching. So I'm currently studying something that's meant to be done by women, I think, but we'll see how that goes. There is no divide in the spiritual world for that sort of things. So gods, but no master. None of these deities, gods or goddesses, are your master. None of them are telling you have to follow them.
No.
And there lies a crucial difference with a lot of religions, because the majority of that sort of following that we want to have somebody as a deity, I don't know, for instance, of the living would be the Pope. Within the pagan side of things, there is no hierarchy. There's no. You can have people that are more experienced in paganism. They may understand more aspects of Norse. I'm really early, small steps in my Norse journey. So they're not higher than I am, but they just know more than I do. And then they learn from me and I learn from them, and knowledge is passed on with a sense of equality. It's not restricted.
There's an inclusivity to the older religions, in that everybody is as important as everybody else, and it doesn't matter if you're the lowest of the low.
And I'm going to say it just so we get the kind of, I'll say it, but Christianity is predominantly for men to be in control of a situation. Everything's geared up for masculine power within it. And as I've quite clearly said, I connect with a masculine God, but I also connect with a feminine God in the same way that we do in life. We connect with a dad and we connect with a mum or hopefully we do. So, or a father figure. So have I talked for long enough?
Almost.
What time is it? No, we've still got half an hour. Excellent. What are we going to talk about now?
Yeah. I think it's a really difficult one, because I'm not one for bashing other people's religions at all. You might not believe that now. But everybody should have the choice of what they want to believe, and how they want to do that belief, how they want to evidence that belief to themselves. The difference between the older religions and Christianity, for want of a different...
We've picked that one because that's the one we live in a Christian
Catholicism
country.
Is the older religions were shared verbally. They were stories and knowledge and legends and ways of living that
and they were blown out of proportion, and they were exaggerated, and they were,
of course they were, like
awesome stories.
I don't know the political way of saying it, but Chinese whispers. You give somebody a little bit of a story, they add to it, exaggerate
That's how a story starts.
and move it on. But they were verbal traditions, and that's how they were passed, which is why a lot of things are confused and not lost, and they're difficult to research. Whereas the guided religions have a book, and you live by that book, and what is written in that book is your direction of how you are to live your life, and there is no flexibility to that. There is no inclusivity to that. There is very little compassion, I think, to questioning.
But like I said, we can
it's
only
all written
describe our
down
journey.
and you should follow. But that's, it's
And like
it's
I
a
said, I
journey
sought
I
it.
went on as a child. I used to go to church every week as a child.
My girls were, me and my ex-wife wanted my kids to go to a Church of England school. So
My father was Protestant, comes from a very long line of Protestants. I believe my mother's family are C of E, I'm guessing. I went to a
as far as I'm concerned now,
church.
they're a bunch of religious stealing
There you go. So,
people.
it's not a bandstand. I purposefully chose not to have my children christened so that they could find their own paths as adults.
I actually
and
forgot
make their
deity.
choice themselves.
I forgot one.
All right, what did you forget?
The Egyptian god. The one that's tattooed on the back of my neck.
As if you forgot that.
Yeah, I have the Eye of Horus on the back of my neck, which I got when I left being a Baptist. You do your own research and you come to your own conclusions if you want to. But if you boil back religion as far back as you can to early societies, some information that which I've gone with leads back to the Egyptian gods. as being really, really early on. So Horus representing by a hawk for one, and then the eye, and then there's a whole load of stuff that goes into astrological links, where there is then quite a lot of religious plagiarism. So yeah, it's kind of a whole other thing in there. But Horus is my kind of homage to that, as a breaking my Christianity kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't care.
We had a lovely couple of gentlemen knock the door last summer. They got past the skulls in a mound above the door, which is nice, and our green man door knocker, and the sprig of rosemary that hangs over the door for protection. They got past all of that and they knocked the door, and they really wanted us to engage with their leaflet and their beliefs. So you engaged with them quite heartily.
Yep.
And discussed the origin of religion.
Yep.
And Horus, amongst other things, and they were quite quiet when they left, and I don't think they left us a leaflet, and I don't think they've knocked the door since.
No. I'm happy to do it. I don't think anybody's opinion of stuff to do with religion is wrong. It's your opinion. It's your own personal journey.
Yeah.
And they're on their personal, and they want to let people know that it's a good journey to be on, and I get that.
It's too pushy for me.
But yeah, if it's the right path, it kind of comes to you. You end up being on it, and then you learn the lessons that are important to you. So yeah, kind of giving me this is a guidebook to life. You know, that doesn't really answer a lot of my questions. So
Yeah, and organised religion tends to have their celebratory time when you come together as a congregation, because you can only worship under one roof that you have to contribute towards, which is fine. It's a community thing, but they tend to do it over a weekend. How inappropriate. Well, you maybe want to go out and revel a bit of a weekend, whereas paganism and Wiccans, you give praise all the time for everything. There is no organisation to it, because we are surrounded by what we believe in, and we can give thanks to it all the time, which you've done repeatedly today by going to your pond.
I've redone my pond today.
Yeah, and giving thanks for the fish that are in it, the flowers that grow around it, and the plants that grow around it. The ability to have it, the water that flows through it, the birds that are drawn to it, all of these things are there all the time. Let's not wait for a particular day to say thanks for that.
When people speak to us in the way, they'll sort of ask, people ask a question like I'm going to give them some magical, mystical answer to it. Like, so, well, how do you connect to this? I literally, while I was having a fag in the garden, standing next to my pond, planted my feet to the ground, imagined I'd rooted myself there, listened to the birds, the trees, the water, the wind, and just stood there like that for 3 minutes. My fag went out, so I relit it once I come back to, and that is literally all. There's no magical secret to it. It's literally about trying to get as much of around you awareness, and then your next stage of that is to block all of that out and only become aware of yourself within that equation.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So.
But who did the census? Who put pagan? Yeah, we did.
We did. Yeah, we did. You didn't have to put pagan if you're not a pagan. Don't feel obliged. There is a huge upsurge through the social network community of pagans, to make sure that everybody is identifying themselves as that and not fitting themselves into a different box. So we're all ticking other and writing pagan, because it's very serious, it's very important. We're just as important as everybody else.
We got a target.
And if Jedis can get a listing on the bloody forms, then I'm fairly certain that paganism should be there.
I think I put Jedi on the previous one, just because I couldn't be bothered with it.
You are now through the wilderness.
Yeah. That's what it is.
So,
So yes, we've not sort of given much chance for you guys to put questions in. We do get sort of random questions throughout the week.
We do. We should make more effort to go through things, really.
Did any of you have any thoughts on my live opening of a haunted object? I don't know whether anybody's up for that. I've had a look at a few things on eBay that say they're haunted, and they're verified on eBay that they're haunted.
Yeah.
And I'm not out to debunk them, I'm just out to see whether I can tune in to whatever it is that they say they've tuned into.
Yeah.
I've also contemplated doing some live tarot readings, if that is something that people would be interested in. I'm not sure how it would be done as far as being on Facebook is concerned. I've got to look into that, but it's whether or not you guys would be interested in a reading or not, as just like a quick reading live on air. Have we had any questions come in?
No.
Just compliments at the beginning about how good the light is. Excellent. That's good then.
Nice.
That's fine.
It's very good.
So yes, we've kind of covered quite a lot today, to do with the deities, but also our journeys with them. I'd be interested to hear from you guys if there's particular deities that you've connected with or you're particularly drawn to, and why you're drawn to them. And you can also add as many as you want to them. You don't have to just kind of have one or two. You can have as many, and they are different. They're different to guides as well, as far as some sort of spiritual rank. I'm not sure, but deities obviously have that goddess status. Guides, I don't know. I don't know what rank they are. I've never asked what the.
There is no rank. They're there just to guide you.
Yeah, so they're
To assist you
there.
in your foray.
I mean, I'm
with the
saying all
spirit.
that, and I still treat my guide with the same mutual respect. So I don't know why I drew a distinction there of a difference. I shouldn't have done, really.
If you don't want to talk about deities, you don't have to. You can talk about whatever you want. You can ask us whatever you want.
What about this deity that I'm gonna say one. What's his name? Moonstar, Satan. There's an anti-deity
Morning
apparently.
star.
Morning Star. A religion.
The morning star.
A religion with heaven and hell. That's funny. Asgard and hell. We've just got one L. You guys have got two L's. I forgot what my point was going to be on that. I was going to make a point. Oh, yeah. So devil. So people who say like Satan worshippers. This is just my opinion. It doesn't make any sense. You're actively following the anti-version of what was created as Jesus. So I'm not. You can't say that there is Satan unless you immediately agree that there is Jesus as well to create balance. So for them to sort of, as the Satan worshipper, I've never heard one of them say that they do admit that Jesus and God existed. So I don't understand how they're following the flip side of a religious coin that I think was only really wrote as a reference to behaving. So you would have the fear of God. But I could well be very wrong. I've never had a very in-depth conversation with a Satanist.
You can look even further than that.
So I don't really want it in my Google search, I've got to be honest.
That if there is the great creator, for me, the great creator is a woman. She is a goddess, and her name is Diana. And her son and lover, you will find that with all deities in all religions, they are an incestuous bunch. And it's because of the verbal passing on of the stories that the stories get mixed up. But moving on from that, it is believed that the original inhabitants of the earth were demons, and they were loved. And God, man-God, put demons on the earth, and they were his joy and his light and his pride. And then he got bored and decided to wipe out demons and send them to a different alternative place, which has been known as hell, and create man. Just putting it out there. It's
On
a
that bombshell.
story. It's a story. Doesn't mean that I believe it. I think that it's
I get
very
that.
hard to...
I don't think it matters who you follow. It's why you follow. And
What you
hope,
get out of it.
and what you hope to get out of following.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah.
So you've all gone super quiet.
That must mean we're obviously talking about stuff that they're interested in.
Or they've nodded off, or they've sodded off.
That's highly likely. But we do appreciate the fact that this is kind of just us rambling a little bit.
Guide us.
So if you've tuned in after the fact and you're not watching it live, thank you. I hope you've picked something up. If you have a question, by all means, drop us an email or contact us through Facebook.
As you can probably tell, we love to chat.
I remember next week we're here earlier. We're going to be here at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and next week we're going to do a little step back towards spiritualism. Because that's such a broad subject and people have huge interest in it. And lots of unanswered questions because they've had experiences or they've heard of experiences that other people have had and it's intrigued them. Sorry, my...
Marion, very interesting, not asleep. Thank you, Marion. Love you, Marion.
Thank you, Marion.
So yeah, next week, spooky stuff, ghosty stuff,
Things that go
mediumship stuff.
bump in the night.
We could make that as again, us talking about our experiences, readings that we've done, places that we've been, objects I've been freaked out with.
I have so many stories about it, and I don't just want to tell my stories, I want to hear your stories too, and your take on what you think about things. I was very lucky that I was part of the world's largest live stream seance. I found that whole thing really bizarre, that because of the lockdown restrictions at the time, because we were like in lockdown 1, that we couldn't do a traditional seance, and you can't do it the way you would anyway. We couldn't turn the lights off because nobody at home could see us.
What if next
We couldn't
week?
sit in silence because people would tune in and go, what the hell, everybody's just sitting in the dark in silence. What the hell's going on? So that was all a bit weird, and we obviously couldn't touch each other or be near each other. And the most frustrating thing, as in hands, the most frustrating thing for me was I couldn't leave the room. Once we were in the room and engaged within the seance, the fact that there was very little connection within that room. Well, I couldn't get up and go somewhere else within the building where there was a lot going on, and I got massive connection. But I couldn't do anything about it because it was a fixed setup of cameras and things. So I found that really frustrating. So that's just me rambling now.
But when it comes to things like that, again, we've spoken about it before, it's the two different kinds of things. You've got the spirit or the energy of a particular person, or we're dealing with the energy that's stored within the stones, which I heard, was it called stone tapes? Somebody called it the other day.
Oh, no, the stone tape thing is remembered situations, remembered history that's released. That
was like an energy replay.
Yeah.
Oh, it is what I thought it was. So
Yeah.
we're just giving it a different name. Yeah, no, it's just the energy stored within
So
a
you
brick.
play sounds and put flashy lights or whatever was happening in the room.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is they're describing it as sort of people
Sorry, I'm
suddenly
gonna
people suddenly randomly see somebody walk past, and it's perhaps not a person as a spiritual entity. It is just this stone tapes. It's energy repeating. But for me, I just put my hand on it and then just do that.
Psychometry.
Yeah, I don't need to kind of wait for it to burst out of the brick.
And psychometry's got lots of different things to talk about as well. It doesn't just have to be a possession of somebody. It can be a photo of somebody. It can be a building where you touch a wall or a piece of furniture. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's it's better, it's quicker to connect to a piece of personal jewellery or something that somebody regularly had in their hand, like an old lighter or a cigarette
Yeah, the
case,
closer proximity it is to the person, the
or
more
the more
energy it's
regular
gonna have.
contact. The best thing, as long as it is only held by that person as a regular thing, is keys. Keys are hugely powerful.
Yeah, you've said this before.
Yeah, I keep keys for every single house. Just because they hold my energy. I don't want to give that to somebody else.
Fair enough.
I want to share. That's part of my history.
So yeah, something slightly more ghost related next week.
Spiritually.
We could have the what do you call it?
Communication board.
No, not the communication board. The thing with the lights on. What's that one called?
Oh, the K2 meter.
Yeah, we'll put a K2 meter on.
Yeah.
And while we're here and go like, we'll ask if there's anybody about that wants to give us a sign and see whether any actually.
Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah, that would, what, in our own office? That's going to be. Yeah,
Fine.
be fine. Who doesn't want a demon in the office?
I've got one already.
I didn't have as much coffee this week because people said I was a bit too wired last week.
It's a little bit manic.
I was a bit. It was quite a strong espresso.
Yeah.
But I hope you guys have kind of learned something, or you've got. And it's not about agreeing. We don't have to agree on everything, and I'm not expecting everybody to agree with everything I've ever said, or I say. It's just my take on it. It's my experiences, and my life journey with deities has contained some trials that you sort of think, yeah, maybe I could have just read that in a book. I didn't need to live through it. You could have just done that as a, make sure you watch this episode of such and such a program. You'll learn about whatever experience it is that you now have to go and live through instead. Which some people would say, oh, well, God moves in mysterious ways. No,
Which God?
That's just they didn't have a plan.
Which God?
There's a reason for most things. I always think that there's a reason for everything, and things will turn up.
Yeah. If you're not comfortable putting comments, some people aren't comfortable putting comments, send us a message. Send us
Yeah, I've had a few people say that.
something. We've had a few messages, but if you're not comfortable or you want to ask something, and you don't want people to know it was you that asked, we won't say that it's you. Send us a message rather than put it in the comments, and we'll just address it in general.
What I think would be good though is if we get some sort of chats going on a regular basis to do with the sort of divination and things like that, we can start doing, so it's not just us on camera. We'll host it and then people can come and join us, and that way we can then probably interact a little bit better for things like readings or
Absolutely.
yeah, for the mediumship side of things, but also interacting with us, giving us somebody other to look at
It's quite rude.
than just us.
It's a little bit rude. Whatever. This is goddess at the beginning, but clearly not now.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, again, we've got a wealth of experience and knowledge and stories and examples of things, and we're sitting in a room that is full of stuff that we could show you and do show and tells about, but that's not as much fun as engaging with you guys or passing on information, keeping the pagan traditions alive by passing on knowledge. Hence what today was about. It was actually a suggestion to us last week that we cover deities, which was a little bit intimidating because it is such a huge topic, and there are so many
there was no
deities.
way we could cover deities in their entirety, not a chance.
That's more of a seminar thing, I think.
But I also think
But that's great. If you're looking for your deity, I think that's what what you touched on earlier. If you're looking for your deity, look online, look in books, see who draws you. If somebody draws you, absolutely look into them more. And and see how what
Don't look at imagery
resonates.
either.
See what resonates with you. To be fair, when I was drawn to Freya, I did absolutely just look at imagery, and I had lots of female goddess pictures, and I just waited to be drawn to one goddess, and I was drawn to Freya. Well, now we know why, because she is linked to childbirth, and she can turn into a hawk. How cool is that? So,
But we're under no obligation to stay with the same deities either.
no.
A lot of people from a Norse pagan background will tend to follow Odin and Thor. But firstly, you have to think of Thor as being a long, red, bearded, tall bloke. Not Chris Hemsworth, the blonde Australian. That's not...
It's a shame.
That's not Thor,
no.
And also Odin hasn't got one eye and likes fava beans either. Odin
He has got one eye.
Odin as a god and as a deity is an absent father. There's no two ways about it. Odin is extremely powerful, but he's also very self-motivated. He wants to find out his own information. He wants to learn himself and wants wisdom. So if you get a moment with Odin, you're extremely lucky.
What about Aquaman?
Yeah.
Is he real?
Yeah.
It's my birthday.
Is this that Facebook post, the whiskey with the shot of tequila or whatever
That was
it was?
it.
Right. Anyway, we need to be wrapping this up. So I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Join us every Sunday. Like I say, next Sunday will be 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock next Sunday. We will put out reminders. We will put out posts.
We'll create the event.
And I know it's going to be something that people are more interested in than the other waffle that we do. But it's a discovery circle. So the essence is that we are going to discover new things together. And engage with each other and impart information and just have a good old gossip about weird stuff. But yes, I know that if we talk next week about more spiritual things, as in spirits and ghosts and entities and things that go bump in the night, that will have a huger pull for people, because everybody has had some kind of experience or wants some kind of experience. So yeah, absolutely.
For me, it's just you guys. I want you guys to experience that level of communication with a deity or a guide or the mediumship. I want you to learn whatever it is that keeps you motivated within that realms of spirituality.
Especially the way the world is at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Find your faith wherever it is. And keep smiling.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, we're wrapping it up then.
Yeah.
We need like an end title finish, sort of. Bye. No, let's not.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that ever again.
Thanks, Marion. Night-night.
But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Join us next Sunday and get your questions in. We'll get them answered for you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.